Well, these have certainly been challenging times these last several months. And now here we are at Christmas, and we're having a very unique and challenging Christmas as well. And as we do, I got to thinking about the first Christmas. I got to thinking how Mary and Joseph were required by the government to go and register in their home city where they were born. Mary and Joseph travel to Bethlehem. Mary is no doubt riding on a donkey, and she's pregnant. And when Jesus is born, he isn't born in a hospital. He isn't born in one of Joseph's family members' guest house. No, he's born in a stable with the animals. His first bed is an eating trough. And so God knows what it's like to enter into our world in challenging times. God knows what struggle is all about, for he came in a time of great struggle. But the good news is, he came to us. He came to us, he took on human flesh, and he came to us in Jesus Christ, God himself. And it means we have hope. In the midst of difficulties and challenges, it means we have hope. It means that we're not lost, it means that we're not abandoned, and it means we haven't been forgotten. And when Jesus was born, the angels spoke to the shepherd in the hillside in Luke chapter 2, verses 10 and 11. Hear now the account. It says, "But the angel said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord.'" The angel said, "Fear not." I imagine we'd be afraid too if an angel appeared before us with a message from God. And he starts with, "Fear not." And then he says, "I've come to bring a message of great joy." Of great joy. Because it means that God has entered our world and he has come to rescue us. And that's the good news. In my family of origin, with my parents, we didn't have a lot of money. My parents worked very hard, both of them did, and we never really had a lot of things. We didn't have the extras, but we did have the basics. We always had what we needed, but we didn't always have beyond that. Going out to dinner was a real treat, and it was never anything fancy. So when it came to Christmas time, we gave each other the things that we needed, not the things that we wanted. Oh, there was the time I got a bicycle, and yes, there was the time I got a skateboard. But for the most part, through the many years, the gifts I received were the gifts of things that I needed. Now, at this Christmas time, I believe that everyone needs Jesus Christ. Everyone needs him in their life. We need him to rescue us. And whether we realize it or not, we need this. This might not be what we think we want, but it's what we need, because we need to be rescued from ourselves. We need to be rescued from our guilt and shame. We need to be rescued from death. We need to be rescued from our my way or the highway attitude, or my arrogance and pride. We need to be rescued from our addictions. And on the list goes. This is what Christmas is about. The God of heaven and earth who would come into our world to rescue you and me. That's why the angel would say, "I've come to bring a message of great joy for all people. A Savior has been born." That's the good news we need to hear at this Christmas time. Many years ago, there was a story about a family that had fallen on hard times. I think it was like during the Great Recession many years ago. And they had lost their jobs and they'd been unemployed for a period of time. And now their home was being foreclosed. They couldn't make the payments and the bank was going to take possession. They were told they had to move out by a certain date, and so they started to pack. They went down into the basement and they found some boxes they could use for packing. And in one of the boxes, they found about 10 comic books. Well, at first they didn't think anything of it. They didn't think it was very important. But then they went online and they found that most of them were only worth about $10 or $20. But there was one called Action Comic Number 1, June 1938 edition. It had Superman on the cover. It was the first time Superman was ever on the cover of a comic book and a magazine. And so they looked it up and they discovered that a year before their finding it in their basement, it had sold for $1 million. And 6 months later, it sold for $1.5 million. Now they had enough money not only to get their house out of foreclosure, but to pay it off entirely and then to have even extra for years and years to come. Now, who would have ever thought that a magazine that was worth 10 cents in 1938 would be worth $1.5 million now? Maybe you feel that way about Jesus. Maybe you don't think that he is that valuable to you. Maybe you say to yourself, yeah, I know, he's someone from history and he taught a lot of nice things like love and forgiveness and compassion, but that's about all I can see in Jesus. But you need to know that he claimed to be God in human flesh, and he proved it by dying on a cross and being raised again from the dead. And who in history has ever done that? The fact that he was raised from the dead and that there's proof for it changes everything. And it means that he is who he said he is. It means he can do what he says he can do. It means that he is the greatest gift God could ever give us. He gave himself to you and to me. Everyone needs Jesus. That's why the angels declare it in Luke chapter 2. Let's read it again. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I'm bringing good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord." News of great joy. That's what this Christmas is about. Even in the midst of all of our challenges, it's a message of great joy, knowing that he has come to rescue us. You know, one of the great movies at Christmas time is Miracle on 34th Street. And it's a Christmas story. It's a Christmas movie. But you might be surprised to learn that the producers put it in the theaters during the summertime. They realized it was going to be a blockbuster, and they wanted to make as much money as they could. So they wanted it out in the public as long as they could, and so they put it in the theaters in the summertime. But then they had to change how they advertised the movie. They couldn't advertise it as a holiday movie. They couldn't advertise it as a Christmas movie. So instead, they advertised it as a romantic comedy. And on the posters and the advertising, you didn't see Santa Claus. You didn't see the child star, Natalie Wood, at the time. It was all about a romantic comedy. Well, if you think about it, in many ways, the Christmas story is similar. The real Christmas story, you know, the one about Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus, that story is really a love story. It's a love story that is good all year long. It's a love story about God's great love for you, that he would come himself and die on a cross and be raised again so that we could be rescued from ourselves and rescued from sin and rescued from guilt and shame and rescued from death. And so I want you to embrace Jesus this Christmas. If up until now you didn't think you needed him, I want you to look into your heart and soul and realize you need something more. You need Jesus. Welcome him into your life. Embrace him as your Savior and your Lord, which means he's the one in control and in charge of your life. Because the angel said, we have great news of great joy. The Savior has been born. God bless you this Christmas.